I want to take you back live to Canberra now. Nationals MP Michael McCormack joins us. This is the last sitting day of Parliament officially, and now the House does not resume until the 3rd of February next year. It's been quite a bruising year for your side of politics, Michael. The final piece of legislation to pass is quite emblematic. Labor's done it with the Greens. Do they need you at all?
Well, they've certainly done a deal with the Greens, but and this legislation, this National Environmental Protection Agency that is going to be put in place is going to be another level of complexity and compliance for business, for farming, for mining. Not good legislation. And you know, when Labor does a deal with the Greens, their favourite bedmates, it cannot be good for manufacturing in Australia. It can't be good for Made in Australia. It can't be good for Australian jobs. This is a disappointing day to end a disappointing year, I suppose, for the Coalition, but we live on, and we'll go away, lick our wounds, come back in February and keep fighting for and on behalf of those Australians who still believe that we should be making things here in Australia, who still believe that we should have lower power prices, and who know that there's a cheaper, better, fairer way for our energy system and, of course, emissions reduction.
There'll be a lot of your supporters that will be saying, well, what are you doing in Parliament? How can you be effective? Because on this, you weren't.
Well, have a look at the medallic recognition. That nonsense bit of legislation brought in by Matt Keogh passed the House of Representatives, but Phil Thompson, Darren Chester and I spoke vociferously against it again and again. We kept campaigning. We mobilised our RSL sub-branches. There were many, more than 70 submissions put into the inquiry, only one of which was in favour of making sure that our veteran heroes didn't get the opportunity to get that much-deserved Victoria Cross for Australia, or whatever the case might be, for their actions more than 20 years ago. And we overturned it. And so, you know, while you're still got a seat in that Parliament, you can still make a difference, Laura, and I earnestly believe that. And I'll be fighting hard over summer to ensure that people know that the Coalition is serious about bringing down power prices, and we will do just that when we resume in 2026.
And that's a really good example, Michael, of the effectiveness of the campaigning, something you believed in and you were able to convince the other side of politics, and they dropped it. I give you great credit there. But what about on the EPBC? Who dropped the ball on this one?
Well, Labor was always going to do a deal with the Greens. They had one set of amendments for the Greens, one set for the Coalition. I mean, they gave lip service to the Coalition, and we weren't going to agree to something that made our farmers not be able to knock down a tree. It made it so onerous and difficult for miners to do the great job that they do for and on behalf of our exports. Our miners keep the lights on. Our miners keep the balance of payments going. I mean, and you only have to listen to Tanya Constable from the Minerals Council, or indeed Andrew McKellar from the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who described this rightly as Frankenstein's law. Frankenstein's monster. It's going to be unleashed onto the Australian economy at a time when we're already paying high power prices, at a time of a cost of living crisis. I mean, this is nuts, but, you know, when Labor does a deal with Sarah Hanson-Young, that's what happens.
Your supporters are looking at you right now, the Coalition side, and saying, how could we not avoid this? Well,
they've also got a 51-seat majority in the House of Representatives, so 52 after yesterday probably. But look, it's hard to keep chipping away, but you have to. And of course, the Senate, being obstructionist as it is, it's, you know, when Labor does a deal with the Greens, they'll be able to get anything through. So we have to keep chipping away.
No, but what's your plan?
There'll become a tipping point, Laura, when people say,
I've had enough. Labor's going to do with the Greens, so we're just going to sit back and let that happen. Hope we change the
No. We never sit back. And you saw the opposition leader, Susan Lee, and the Environment Shadow Minister, Angie Bell, very much give concerted and strong and strident speeches about how terrible these laws are for Australian business. But, of course, politics is about numbers, and we, unfortunately, at the moment don't have the numbers, Laura. But we'll keep fighting away, and we'll keep exposing Labor for what they are. Bad for the economy, bad for Australia.
OK, let's talk Barnaby. He's, what do we call him now? A former Nat, not yet One Nation, an independent. He won't like that, will he?
Well, that's what he is. That's what he is, Laura, and you've got to call it as you see it. You always do that. And unfortunately, Barnaby has turned his back on the party that gave him the great honour and privilege of leading us 3 times and put him in the Senate, put him in the House of Representatives as the member for New England. And unfortunately, he's unravelled all that yesterday. And that, sadly, is an indictment on his legacy. And he's done a lot of good work for regional Australia. And all that was unfortunately shattered yesterday when he made the call that was Canberra's world's worst secret.
Yeah, it was Canberra's worst kept secret, absolutely. He's been compared to Tony Windsor. Do you think that's fair?
I won't quite go that far, but look, and Tony Windsor, to be fair, he didn't ever sit in a parliament as a nat. He decided to leave the Nationals after a pre-selection didn't go the way he wanted it to, and then stood as an independent. But Tony Windsor, of course, put in Julia Gillard, and then we had the carbon tax that Julia Gillard said no government she ever led would ever go into place, and we did, and we're still wearing the consequences of that. And that's what Tony Windsor brought. I don't think Barnaby's quite at that point yet, and let's hope it doesn't get there. He
spoke to my colleague Andrew Bolt last night, and Andrew asked him a really good question, and that is, what does One Nation offer him that the Nationals don't? And his answer to that was very personal. It comes down to the leadership of David Littleproud. I find it extraordinary that Barnaby, has written out many leaderships, his own and other people's, but after 30 years, he just can't seem to... Yours, exactly. He can't seem to stomach David Littleproud. It does not add up to me. Does it to you?
Look... And to be fair to David had reached out to Barnaby. Barnaby asked to be given space. So I think we could have and should have done more to try and keep Barnaby in the tent, and I think that should have happened from the top. But David did say to me yesterday that he had tried. A 90-second conversation, was that enough? Probably not, but we all lead different... But it
seems like it's Barnaby wants a spot back on the front bench or he's out. That was the gun that was being put to David Littleproud's head. You would accept that
and to
David
be fair, Barnaby would have offered
to that.
Well, Barnaby would have offered the shadow cabinet some good experience.
What kind of leader are you if someone threatens to leave the party unless they get, a seat on the front bench? You can't operate like that.
Yeah, but then do you give in to people who then want to say, I'm going to quit every time I don't get my own way? I'd like to be on the front bench. I'd like to be in the shadow ministry, but I'm not. But I'm in there, standing up, speaking on every bit of legislation. I've given more speeches in the House of Representatives than I think than anybody this year. I've certainly advocated out
the Federation
in the community
Chamber's
about...
a good one too, Michael.
Thank you, Laura. I'll take that as a compliment. But you're sent here to do a job for and on behalf of your electorates. And people out there expect you to be working, not talking about yourself. And there are people out there who very much are hurting at the moment. They can't pay their bills. Their energy costs are through the roof. Their rent is a concern. They can't put a roof over their head. And here we are, Barnaby talking about himself. We're talking about Barnaby. I just hope that whatever he decides to do, he hurries up and makes that decision so we can all just move on. The caravan can move on. The dogs will keep barking, but we can just get on with doing what we're sent here to do, and that's address the cost of living crisis, because that's the biggest issue.
Exactly.
And national security. All of those things, they are big issues. They're far bigger than what we saw yesterday in that 90-second statement just prior to question time. Let's move on.
On that note, we will. Michael, great to speak to you. We'll speak to you
Thanks,
soon
Laura.
And see you back in
Always
Parliament February. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.